Hey Dave, excited man. Today you got Mark Thomas. We've got him up doing a little presentation for us. Man, we had that was a great time we had out in Mesa, Arizona, and Mark came out and what do we have? We had about 30 people there, and everybody walked out of there a little bit heavier than when they came in. And I mean, Mark was bringing in coffee table books and sample books, and they were loading it up to get on the plane with. So everybody really enjoyed Mark's presentation out there and everything he brought to the event.
Yeah, we were really kind of packed in there, and we really got a lot of information into that time. And actually, Mark had another presentation that he was not able to do. He started it, but we had so much going on. So we decided we wanted to bring Mark back because he and I have talked about this presentation, and it's really, really cool. And so he's going to walk us through his app, through the Bisazza app, and just kind of show us how we can help our client visualize what's going to be in the pool. And, according to Mark, it's a 90-second presentation that you can put together for your client. They can actually visualize what the tile is going to look like in there. So I'm really, really excited about this. And the feedback that we've gotten from the class has been amazing. I still get people calling and saying, hey, this was great. And can I have Mark's phone number? So we're just, I can't wait to do another one because it was just so fun. So welcome in, Mark. We're glad to have you here.
Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for
having me. I'm so excited to actually get to push this out to everybody because I know you've been you were super excited to do it in Mesa, and then when we weren't able to, so we're happy to bring you back so that you can actually show everybody this stuff because it's pretty amazing.
Well, I'll start by saying there's two parts in Mesa that were really important that I think we hit, and that material was really strong, and I think everyone got something out of it. The parts that I think are really important for all of our clients are that they make a great decision on tile. And sometimes that's my tile, and sometimes that's someone else's. But you need to always make a great decision, and I call that best practices. If you're not doing your best practices, you're not going to get there. Today, I wanted to take a couple minutes to talk about how you get from, maybe inspiration to a specification, and from specification into some drawings or some tangible pieces for your client. So I'm going to start screen sharing some stuff here and do a quick piece from my phone, and then from there I'll take it into screen sharing of using the app itself. So I'm just clicking some buttons.
Yeah, what's interesting is you're going to screen share your actual phone, and that's one of the things that I love about this is it's an actual app on your phone. So it's really user friendly. It's something that as you're walking into a meeting, you can really kind of set up and get something going for the client just from your phone. That's one of the most amazing features I love about this.
So Mark, where do you get this app? I mean, is it for Android or for, where's the app available?
Good question. Sorry about it. I should have let into that. The app's on the internet, so you can grab it anywhere, and it's an app that runs in a browser, and we'll see that in just a second. Right now on my phone, I have the binder that I brought to Mesa, and these are just some of the colors that people might put into a pool. And today I'm going to concentrate on this color, and this color together to try to create something that might be nice together. So that's from the binder, and then if you put these three pieces together into a blend, you'll end up with that. That's one version of it. And I think you guys saw that in Mesa, and when you play with that, you get a lot of light play. This is done with a gray thin set, and that makes this a lot more rich. But with a white thin set, which we suggest, it actually pops a lot more. And that golden there.
Yeah, one of the things I want to just point out, I've been working with glass for years, and one of the unique things about glass that people that are just starting to get into it don't necessarily know is that you can actually take that book and I can call you, Mark, and say, hey, I would like a blend. And I would like a blend that has 25% of this color and 20% of this color, and you can actually custom make blends, and we call you with that, and you can actually mix those up. So there are pre-made blends that you have, but you're not bound to just what is in the book. We can actually completely customize something. You actually just sent me just a beautiful blend. As you're kind of moving around,
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Explain to the audience the blend that you just shared with me, because that was and the difference that we had just been talking about, because you and I just placed that order with you, and there were some different options even within a single color. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. I'll do it. I'm not going to do it visually. I'm just going to do it through words. So we have books that are available. I had a book that was available called the Doral Collection. The Doral Collection has 42 items that are in stock in the North America area, and we can get it to you in basically 7 days or so. One of those colors that you picked was called SM42. SM is Smalto. It's one of our enamel tiles that you get that flow of color. It's not uniform. It's hand mixed, as we saw in that video in Mesa. And as it's hand mixed, you get a white tile that has hand mixing, and you have these different components that create this tile. And if you look at the background on my picture, you actually see some flow of different colors. That's one color in the background, that blue. That's not a blend. That's one color. And so my colors themselves have quite a bit of variation within them. And then the option that I sent you two options. One was called one batch, and you get one monolithic batch that's all white. And then you have, I created a 7-batch blend, which is taking a number of batches that we had in our warehouse to do a fairly large pool. And we did a 7-batch blend, and that 7-batch blend was also available. And we chose the one that was quickest and fastest, and turning it around. It's on its way.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so excited to see it. So yeah. Sorry, I kind of interrupted you. You were moving in a direction. So let's keep going. I can't wait to see the app for everybody.
Great. Let me go back to screen sharing for a moment. And there we go. All right. And then, am I on the right screen? Do you see this? Do you see the Bisazza app on screen?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. I just want to make sure I understand what we're seeing. Great. So let's just, how do we get here? You asked that question. You type in here Bisazza.com. And Bisazza, which you can find on the internet through Google. You'll have our webpage, and we do some amazing things that are not tools. But as you go through, there's different collections, different pieces that we offer. And if I scroll all the way down, excuse the quickness of this, at the very bottom, you see here the Bisazza app itself. So you don't have to download this to your phone. You don't have to put software on any of your devices. You can just start and launch. So if I click this, it'll launch in the browser itself. And as it does that, it's going to ask you some questions like cookies and what language do you speak. So I suggest I only speak English. We have Chinese and Italian on here as well. And there will be a little pop-up usually that you'll have to click over here that says accept cookies. Here you have Italian, English, Chinese. So I always click English as a first, and then all the words pop over from producti to product, and you can then read it. So just as a note on what's going on, this is kind of a reset button. So if you made a mistake or couldn't get what you wanted, you could start over and like figure it out. This is a pull out, and you can pull that out or in. And what we're going to do today is we're going to go into products, and we're going to go into ambiance and custom ambiance. So those are the 3 places we're going to go. But for today's conversation, and I call this inspiration to specification in 90 seconds. So you launch the app, you click on products, you click on blends, click on a size. Size I sold to you, Dave, was the 20 millimeter. And then to do a blend, you choose tone, I choose all. And then the colors I just showed you were 2049 from the catalog that I showed, 57 and 59. And then I close this up so I can get to the rest of the options. And just for grins, it's 33, tab 33, tab 34. Oops. And I know that adds up to 100. If it doesn't add up to 100, well, it'll give you an error. A good choice in this case is a gray grout like the one I showed. And it'll pop up on screen. And you can also say, I want to see it with a white grout. Tell me if this is too fast, guys, so make sure I'm not missing something. I don't like white grout with this one at all, but you know, your customer can choose any choice they want, and it gives them a way of modeling something very quickly. If this was just in your app or just in your phone or on your screen, that doesn't do you much good. So down here, there's print and send to, download texture file, and instructions. There's also add to favorites. This is not my favorite. I would never put that up. So let's get something that's not horrific, and that's a better choice. Add to favorites will add it into your library, and you can use that later on in a pool or a space that you want to customize. So that's the add to favorites button. The second one, print, is pretty obvious. It'll pop up a pop-up window, and I'm letting this do this while I'm talking, and then once it's done, we'll have the ability to use it. So this is going to be ATM. That's Ask the Masters for those people that are not paying attention on that. And then send to. This is the only button I really use, because if you send to, you put your email in and you send it to yourself. Now you have a record of what you just put on screen. Way more important than what's on screen is what you have in your phone, your device, so you can get back to it when you're done. So now that I have that email to myself, and I'll be able to get access to it. So somebody who's more technical or a designer person might want the download texture file, and that texture file can go into a SketchUp or BIM or AutoCAD, or send it to your designer. All those people that are going to go do all that other stuff, that's for them. So let's go and see what you can do with this right now. If you were to take this and say, I like what I have, I'm going to put this into a pool. So here, products, these are some of the other products. Ambient standard. If you go to standard, you can choose one of these places, because we're talking pools. Let's do a pool. And then let's take a square edge pool like this one. I prefer the first one. Let's try that. And under favorites down here, we just created a 20 by 20 favorite. And that's the one I just created. And it says ATM on it, you'll notice. Drag it in, drop it, and that'll do the floor of the pool. Then you'll have the walls, when we'll undrop it in one more time. If you want to do a different set of walls, you could, but this will render through. And this is talking to Italy, so you have to give it a little bit of time. And if you're on a bad connection, you're going to have to wait a second and be patient. And I'm not good at that, just to be totally fair. So I want to see, sometimes I'm not patient enough for the machine. If you're more patient than me, you'll have much better results. So this is a way to take a custom blend, put it into a pool, show it off, send yourself a PDF, send yourself an image of that. And right now, this is nice, but what is it going to look like without tile? Or without water? So you take this, you drop this down to no water, on it again, and you're going to see just tile. So this is a tool that you can use, play with a little bit, do some modeling, do your own. I call this fast fail. Try one, try another one, try another one, and then you get a great outcome, because you have some history of what you don't like, then you have also the history of what you do like. So at this point, if I like that particular image, again, tools, send to, and I'll just drop my email address in there, and that's now sent. So now I have 2 emails, the original blend and pool. So that's just a quick way of doing something like that. And that's a beginning point of what is available within this app. Do 2 more. I'll do 2.
Mark, it's interesting because I like to geek out on this stuff. So while you're doing that, it's funny because in 2020 and 2021, we won't be using apps anymore. So Bisazza is way ahead of everybody else in the industry. And this is an interactive website that you'll see more and more in the future. Actual app websites where you download apps will start to vanish in the next couple of years. So this is exciting. It's actually the first time I've seen a full interactive website that adapts, and you know, it's way ahead of everybody else.
Well, I think it is, and I think that, you know, I think there are a lot of companies out there that have their own apps, and all of them are fine. But this one actually gives your designers and your builders and your people that want to look at this something they can touch and play with. And I wanted to go into shading blends after a blend, because, you know, if you do one blend and it's like, oh no, too much of this, too much of that, or not enough of this. One of the things I'd like to show is blends and shading blends, and then a quick decoration. Because if we do those 3 things, we'll take you from crawling to running in a pretty short time. And I think that if you can run it into your customer and say, that they say, I want those items there, but I want them in a blend. And you can do a blend and show them a blend really quickly. So
before we go there, real quick, and no, stay on this screen. This is perfect. Can you just talk a little bit about the different formats? You know, you've got your 10 by 10, your 20 by 20, and your 50 by 50. You know, for most of us here in North America, I've worked with glass enough. I know the different sizes, but those are in millimeters. But can you just kind of interpret that roughly? And just for everybody listening, for the most part, most glass tile pools that you've seen with the small mosaics, the Bisazza, Seachis, some of the others, most of those are pretty well 20 by 20, which is like a 3/4 by 3/4. But you do have the 10 by 10, and I know you have some 50 by 50. So just chat about that for just a second.
All right. 10 by 10 in the same space as a 20 by 20, you get 4 pieces of 10 by 10 and a 20 by 20. So that's how it forces out. Those are 3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch. So if you look at this picture in the background here, those are 10 by 10s. You see my mouse going back and across my face, or no?
No.
Oh, sorry about that. I would do the screen share. So let's stop the share here. In the background here, you see the mouse now? Okay, that is a 10 by 10. That's a 20 by 20. So 3/4 by 3/4, 3/8 by 3/8 in the background.
Okay.
Okay, and then the 50 millimeter is a larger format, but I would suggest that it's not commonly used in a pool. So, and by the same token, the 10 by 10, and if you're talking about the person installing this, there's 900 of these pieces in one sheet.
Yeah, one square foot, roughly square foot sheet has 900 10 by 10s.
So if someone is installing that and one of those pieces needs to be tweaked, that's great. But now you have 900 of those that has to be tweaked if you did something that needs to be done. So it just gets to be a higher cost of installation. And the big picture, if you will, big picture, stand back. Too big a piece of tile in a pool is going to have a lot of movement, and oftentimes will fracture or break or experience poor outcomes, is what I'm going to say. Too big a tile will experience a bad outcome. Anybody's brand, not my brand, not somebody else's brand, any brand. Too big a piece of tile in glass will experience a bad outcome. Too small a piece of tile is going to be hard to adhere. So 20 by 20 is really the sweet spot. And I'm going to go back to screen share, and then we'll do that again for us. Am I back on? Do you see the,
yep.
Those are epic? Okay, fantastic. So yeah, that's the 10 by 10. And if you wanted to see it on screen, you can quickly do that. You can see that on screen. So this is a 10 by 10. You can see how many pieces are on one sheet. That's one sheet of tile. And I just chose the first thing that came up. And this is the last sheet of tile. This is called a shading blend. So it blends from one side off to the other side and changes over that. So as it renders on screen, it's taking a second here. It will, again, it's 900 pixels per square, and then you have a bunch of squares up here on the screen. So it's going to take a minute to show up here. There we go. So you can see how that looks. That's 16 blends in that space. And each one of those blends gives you a shade through. One of the things that I was talking about when you're doing your own piece, how do you do a blend and get the exact blend that you want correctly? So how do you not make 100 mistakes on this app? And that's what I'm going to show now. So if you went into 20 by 20 into custom, and we're going to do our own custom blend, we choose Gemma here, all. This was the first item we chose earlier on the blend. And I'm going to use that one as 100% that color. That's not a blend, but bear with me for a second. Same grout color that I liked before. Now, the final composition, I'm going to use the same thing, Gemma again, and choose that one color that I liked, and then I add the other two colors here, and 57, 59. Those are the ones that were from the binder originally, and those are the ones I showed at the beginning of the show here. And now I close this up, and I'm going to say I only want 1% of this one, and everything else will be these other two. So I'll get a shading blend that 49, 50, calculate. So this is going to take a second to show up on screen, but you're going to get a shading blend that goes from 100% one color to 50-50 of the other color. And you can see those two generating on screen now. This is where I call a fast fail. Fast fail is one of the best things you can do for yourself, because do you want that one or do you want that one? How do you get that figured out? So to make it even a little bit more granular, I add another 8 sheets. So I just added now from 8 sheets to 16 sheets, and I'll have 16 choices to show what, show myself how to choose a good blend. Does this make sense to you? Am I?
Very much so. And about a year and a half ago, I went through kind of a process very similar to this with a client, and we were working with a different manufacturer. Excuse me, but the amount of custom blends that we made, it actually got staggering. I mean, we were at 25 or 28. Man, I wish I had known about this at that point, because it would have been so much easier to work through it, especially with the rendering, and be able to render it in the pool, because the client was so visual. You know, and we were changing percentages on the 3-color blend, and really kind of fine tuning it. And, you know, we'd order them 3-4 days later, we'd have the new blend in. And there were a couple of those meetings where I actually walked in and she was like, "Oh no, I hate it already." And so having a tool like this would have been just amazing. We could have really kind of tweaked it within the app. And I'm sure we could have gotten there a whole lot faster.
It's, you know, and it's an exhausting period of time in the construction process, Dave. I mean, you know that to a certain amount, and it's time consuming for your tile manufacturer to keep producing stuff that they really don't want. And sometimes, you know, hey, this just isn't going to look good. So assigning this app and homework to the homeowner and allowing them to go through the process on their own and wear themselves out and not involve the pool builder could be a great babysitting tool for that client. Because, you know, I often say, you know, you can pick any tile you want to at the beginning of a project. It's almost pretty much guaranteed to change by the time you get to actually tiling that pool. So this is just a great way to allow them to be creative, go do it, and not to waste a bunch of your time. You know, just bring back what they think they really want, and then we, you know, hit markup to get the sample we need, and we can all move on down the road without wasting too much time.
Yeah, and you can move through, you know, very, very quickly. You know, what took on that job took 6 or 7 weeks, and the client was so adamant about it that in that 6 or 7 weeks, we couldn't actually even break ground on it. She wanted to have everything in place before we even broke ground. So, you know, we were kind of sitting in a limbo of, okay, what's, you know, we need the material choices. This was on a remodel, so a little different than new construction. But you know, that would have definitely expedited the whole process. So that is just beautiful. I love that, Mark.
Yeah, this is a blend. These blends look gorgeous too, guys. If you ever get the opportunity to do it, because the walls will be lighter here, giving it a deeper tone to the bottom, and Bisazza just does a phenomenal job with them.
Let me just go to the last part, which is I'm going to say here's mix 1, here's mix 16. Okay, and that kind of gives you a visual of what you're looking at. And also in the next part of the same document, it's 100% of one color. Then you say, I like number 12. 12, there's my percentages. That's your percentage that you send me, and say I want 20, 39, and 41. That's mix 13. That's the winner. Okay, so you've got what I call fast fail. So you say, I'm using my finger on the screen now and you can't see that, but I want that one right there. And it's about the middle low. That's the one I think is going to be perfect for my pool. Fast fail in 90 seconds. So you can go from one color to a range of colors. And let's say, again, that's still not good enough, all right? And you say, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to take this and I want to change a color and put something totally different in there. You can just add another color and do the same thing and go to tools and hit send to, and you get your next one. So it's fairly simple. And that can also be dropped into the same pool under favorites. You add the favorite and then you could drop it into a pool.
Yeah, this is just an awesome tool. I can't wait to start playing around with this on my own. And then especially for architects and designers, I mean, this is game changing as far as they're concerned, you know, because they, you know, as picky as homeowners can be, architects and designers can be, you know, that much more picky. And so to be able to give them a tool like this that they can really understand kind of the colors and everything that they're using all around the property, this is great.
If you want to do a decoration in a pool, you can do the same thing and the exact same things apply. In this case, it's a slightly different conversation. You might take something here and drop it into the spot, and that will change the look. So I'm not doing something that I think is going to be fantastic, but I'm doing something that gives you an example of something that can be modified and created to make your own. So any decoration here can be chosen and put in the pool if you wanted to, and then customize that decoration. So I will go back down to tools and some of these things that actually help your designers for 1 second. Let's assume that this is what they wanted on screen. You can take a trimming and you can make it to a certain size. So in this case, let's just put 9 foot by 9 foot, which is about 3 meters or 900 centimeters. So that's how it would look. And if you had a decoration and you needed to have a starting point, you would trim to that one starting point so that you're getting not half a circle, but you top left and top corner, you'll get exactly what you want as a starting position. You can change that decoration to fit on there. After you hit it, you hit trim. After you're done there, new thing comes up in here, texture and then presentation folder. So if you've done a decoration, you can take presentation folder and say ATM. You can put your phone number in. I'm just going to put some numbers. You can say, call Dave. And you hit send here. It's going to launch into that particular decoration with that customization, that space, your job reference, your phone number, call Dave. That's what's in there. Those are the colors that you chose to customize it with. And it gives you everything you want present to your client, all right, here's a close-up of it, and then here it is in a pool.
And this is all things that we can do on our own in our office. I mean, again, this is just, can you imagine as a pool builder walking in and you really want to wow somebody with something and be able to print this from your office and be able to have, you know, client name, my name, all of that information in there and say, you know, I mean, that just, it makes you as a builder or as a designer look so much more professional as well.
And you know, as a first starting point, some of you guys ought to try a trick with some of your proposals. You know, everybody's beating each other up on price, but if you go in as a knowledgeable person with incredible tools like this, I would challenge you a couple of times to go ahead and add a option at the bottom to do an all tile spa. And it's an option right at the bottom. And here's a blend that I thought may look good. You know, check out Bisazza's app, and we can change that around. And what you're doing is you're planting a seed. And as that project progresses, the creative partner in there gets a little excited and says, by the way, hey, what about that all tile option? You know, how can an all tile spa? I've been in those before because many of these people have traveled. And so utilize a tool like this to encourage the creative person to possibly move that sale into an all tile spa, which then of course, Mark, leads to an all tile pool, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a beautiful intro. I think what you really want to do is figure out what they want, and sometimes by giving them a tool like this, it gets them thinking on their own. Now, by the same token, they can go down the rabbit hole and never make a decision. So be careful what you offer people. I think it's great for your builders. I think it's great for your tile choice. But if you're offering someone over 3 choices in front of them after they've already given you some good direction, then you're probably putting too much out there. So that's my personal opinion. Pick 3. You know, in a shoe store, they never bring you 75 pairs of shoes. They bring you 3 pairs of shoes. And you're like, I want that one, because guys don't want to spend hours choosing. Some people want to go back and forth. But when you want to get granular, that's great. I talked about fast fail earlier, and I want to talk about that for 1 second. One of the things that I think is important is taking the ability to do this. And if you don't get out what you want, engage me. I'm happy to help you do that if you don't get what you want. And if I can't get out of the app what you want, I can send renderings or information back to you after I send them to Italy. So Italy will support me and give us the tools that we want. And do you want me to show a couple of renderings? Do you want to see that?
Sure.
Let's see if I can do that without...
With the shoe analogy, Dave, one of the things I would not send a client to a tile store, because they seem to walk out of the tile store far more confused than they walked into the tile store with. And I always encourage to just drop samples off on a doorstep. We didn't give clients homework, so I would drop an array of them. They say, well, we don't like those 2, we like this one. Say, okay, let me bring you a couple of samples close to that, and let them do that from their own backyard or from their own home. And this is a great tool for them to kind of figure out what they're looking for, and then we can drop them off some real life samples.
Yeah, and what I like about this is that it's also, as a builder, glass is tough, and it's real hard to know, is this a good glass? Is this not a good glass? And as you can see, Bisazza is world class, and they have this world class tool that is available to everyone for free. But then you have the backing of Bisazza as well, and that they're a company that's going to stand behind their product, and they're one of the top glass manufacturers in the world.
They've been around for a little while too, haven't they, Dave? I think they've been around.
Yeah, I think they're
they're
turn
older
of the
than
century for sure.
They're older than I am, and I don't have much hair. Dave, you might recognize this one.
Need to open it up. We can't see it on the screen. It's too narrow.
Sorry. Let's see. Is it screen sharing again?
We got a screen share, but we just got a, there you go. You're sliding
Oh,
over to it.
Is that it?
There it is.
There it is.
We just did a project profile
on this last weekend.
And boy, everybody really enjoyed it.
Well, that's your pool. That's tiled from Bisazza. So I call it fast fail. When you can't get something out of the system, or it's too complex, or it's something that needs a lot of care. That's what we do. I call this spectacular rendering to reality. Okay, and what we do is we'll take a drawing. I'm using my mouse and my iPad's up. Sorry, guys. This is a shower. This is not relevant to your conversation with a pool, but if someone gives me this drawing, or you give me a CAD drawing of your pool, we'll take that. And in this case, the client saw a photograph in a picture and said, I like that floor. Can you make that happen? And what we did is we took that image and we took our tile and dropped it in for them. And that was 7 days from the day they asked us to do gave us the picture, gave us the elevations or plan view, and then we gave them 2 versions of it. If you notice, the difference here is the grout color is just slightly different in one to the other. So that's what we'll do. There are different situations where, in this particular pool, this is a shading blend like we talked about a few minutes ago. And you'll notice that shading blend changes from a light to a dark into the piece here. And if you give us a DWG file, which is an AutoCAD file, or give us a plan view that's electronic, we can take those electronic documents and we can turn it into a space. Well, let me see if I can find something here that makes sense.
So as you're looking, just to, wow, that's really cool.
Wow,
sorry, go back. You were saying something.
No. It's fine. I was just, as you were scrolling, one of the great things is that, you can play around with the app and you can play around with your standard pools and some of those standard photos. But if you're looking at a $300,000 or $400,000 tile job and you really need it rendered out proper, we can give that to you, and you can actually come in and create real, the actual. Have I seen that pool?
If you have.
Yeah. I've seen one very similar, if not, but we can actually send you. So that's that is an actual construction project for a real job that you guys rendered. That's really cool.
That's not so cool.
That's not so inexpensive.
Oh my goodness. That is
indoor piece to boot.
Wow.
Anyway, so you guys remember when we were in Arizona, we were talking about to go see this pool, but that didn't happen. This was the Mesa project I wanted to have a look at, but this is a rendering that they did. This is a Frank Lloyd Wright project, and the Biltmore in Arizona has all Frank Lloyd Wright architecture, and they wanted to do lane lines. And in Arizona and in commercial pools, you can't have decorations. So instead of doing decorations, they did swim markers, which are legal. So if you take a look at that, you can see how that lays out. And you have this area here, which became the water line. And you have the area here, which is the lane lines. And that's done in a 10 millimeter in this particular case. If you, that's not going to render through too low res. Each one of these is 3/8 by 3/8, each square. So, and what I'm saying here is, if you can't get what you want with the app, I can turn it into what you need. So this is the crown for the Corona Del Mar Hotel. And this is done in a shading blend. And that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be a blend of gold and white. And then the crown is going to go from gold at the bottom to gold and white at the top. And that's actually the tile that's laid out for that particular job, which is installing now. So if you can't get it done, we can. And we can go through here and look at pool after pool or renders. So this is an interesting one because they sent us a photograph. In that case, they took the photograph that the client sent us. That was the original photograph. That was the original photograph. That's the one we used to render our tile into it. And this one right over here, sorry, back here, this one is what they rendered. That's a rendering. That's not an install. So you get a really good look, and we can do what needs to happen to sell the project for you.
It's fantastic, Mark.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm so glad. You know, I'm so glad we didn't try to rush this through in Arizona, because there's so much good information here, and I knew this was going to be kind of game changing for folks, and so I'm glad that we can actually come back here and do this proper, and you know, and it just. You know, I knew that the app was capable, but this has so much more capability that I was not even aware that you could do. So, yeah, I'm super excited myself to start playing with this and to be able to offer it. You guys can see me. I'm looking down at the screen just like you guys are, just as we're scrolling through this.
Well, I have a question for you. Do you want to do a quick review, or do you want to just close it up? What's the best way to talk this to the end?
Your show. Yeah. You want to review it? I mean, the pictures, I think the capabilities of what you're showing us is what people, now we can get it out. They can understand what they can do with it. So, we have to show them, and then sure, let's take a review. So
a lot of people are going to have a binder like this that has some tile in it that says pick number 3 on the bottom. If you want to take that item and say, I want that put into a pool, or I want to put, let's do the next one, number 4, because that's the one I have the photo of. That's OP 2502. So this particular item. And we're suggesting this fill gel. That's our grout. So that's not the part number, the 7702. That's not the part number. That's the part number for the grout. Okay. But if you say, I want that item and I want to put it into a pool, we made sheets. Okay. And then from sheets, we made 9 sheets, and for this particular client, we decided to put it into a pool and show it to them underwater so they could see what it looks like.
Wow.
So that's actual water. That's not rendering, but that's the way it looks when you do a mock-up. So if you want to take something from virtual to actual, we can do it for you. This was a rendering that was done by Bisazza. In a similar color, and then the way you would do that would be pop out to the web. I'm going to use Safari here for a second, and let's just Bisazza. Go to the website. At the very bottom of the website, you have this little Bisazza app here. You click on it, it'll pop up. And you have to accept cookies, which I mentioned. And then the last part of it is you can start designing in that. So that's where you go. That's how you get there. And then, the part that happens is you want to have, a beautiful pool when you're done. And if you can't do it, we can help you. Feel free to give me a call. I'm happy to support you guys, whether you're LA or otherwise. That's where I am, but I'm happy to support any pool project anywhere. I'm not afraid of you guys.
So Mark, why don't you give us your information again, email address and a phone number, and we'll try and get that also in the show notes.
Okay. It's Mark Thomas. It's Mark with a C, .thomas@bisazza.com. It's fairly simple. And that's probably the best way to start and end at that.
I like it. While you were talking, I just jumped in, got into the app, and started doing a blend that quick. And I'd never done it before in my life. So now I'm thoroughly distracted, and I'm playing with the app. So, hey, he is Mark Thomas. He is from Bisazza. If you have any questions, he is highly accessible and is very good at returning messages. So feel free to reach out if you need boards or any of that stuff. Bisazza has been a big supporter of the industry, and we sure appreciate your time today, Mark.
You guys are great. I think you guys are doing the right things. Appreciate it.
Thank you much.
Ask the Masters is dedicated to educating, mentoring, and designing a better workplace for the swimming pool industry and their families. Please take a moment to share, like, and review our content with all of those that would be interested.